Welcome to the Lynn Community Television show. I'm Sean Donahue. Here with me today, the director of the Washington Square Residence, Lisa Conley. Lisa, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Sean.
Happy to have you. Lisa's the director over there at the Washington Square Residence. The Washington Square Residence, one of the most popular subsidized housing in Lynn area, and you guys are become more of an exemplary piece for the rest of the state of Massachusetts and how to maintain these. We're going to get into the organization, but first and foremost, I want to give Lisa an opportunity to explain who she is and what she does. Lisa?
Well, thank you, Sean. So I am the executive director of the Washington Square Residence. So what that means is I'm fielding applications, cleaning a bathroom, addressing a tenant issue. We have a 43-unit single occupancy style house, and we try to live as a household and sort of family atmosphere.
How long have you been there?
I am in my 9th year.
All right,
so the organization.
I want to briefly touch on this. From what it was when you first came in to what it is today, let's talk about that.
100% different. The organization is still a private nonprofit. We had 30 rooms, mostly shared bathrooms, very old building, electrical problems, heat problems, etc. So the board of directors decided in the early part of 2004 to investigate a full redevelopment of the property, and they partnered with state and local funding so that we could create an affordable housing organization with subsidies and a myriad of different services for our residents.
Outstanding. You can find more information if you're just joining us right now at washingtonsquareresidence.org. You can also reach out via the phone, 781-592-2037. So we were talking a little bit before the program about the industry overall, subsidized housing, what it is. You mentioned SRO, low-income individuals. What's the correlation here?
So when you talk about housing insecurity and homelessness, you tend to see patterns. Oftentimes low-income individuals coming out of domestic violence issues, recovery issues, and people who have not had good housing history. So we're trying to address that with single adults. We partner with the Lynn Public Schools and Lynn Housing on programs for homeless youth, and those are students, high school students, who have no place to live, and they are subsidized with us so they can finish high school and hopefully move on in their life. We address the needs of low-income seniors and pretty much everyone in between.
So beforehand it was the Washington Square Residence for Young Women, now it's the Washington Square Residence. Now you accept applicants of all lights.
Right.
Let's touch on that.
Originally, when the organization was founded back in 1906, it was a home for young women coming to the city to work in the factories. There was an age restriction of 18 to 35. As housing rules advanced and things changed in the housing market, we could no longer limit it age-wise to 35. So we had a variety of tenants, 18 and over, living in, like I said, 30 not so great units. Now we are able to accept men, women, people with various disabilities. We have assisted units, accessible units.
So I want to talk about the main services over there. You have some really fun ones, and then you have some really important functional ones. Yolanda, who couldn't be here with us today, she's out busy advocating, is a big part of one of your first services that are a big part of it, the resident service coordination. What is that? What's its purpose? How does it work?
Well, historically, Washington Square Residence was a whole person kind of organization. So we didn't just provide housing, but meals, and we have some scholarship opportunities. And this position of resident service coordinator is really sort of an advocacy, a resource person addressing issues, tenant issues, employment issues, benefits maximization, connecting people to the resources in the community that they might require.
So a lot of the folks that come in there, are they aware of these resources? I mean, Yolanda's purpose really is to kind of heighten their awareness about what's available to them. When folks come across your threshold, what's been going on? I mean, why isn't this information already readily available?
Well, I think partly because we are sort of a unique organization. We are not a program, we are a landlord with programmatic services. So that means that tenants are not required to participate, but it is there for their benefit. And I think it's a very new model of housing. In fact, we recently were visited by Notre Dame University architectural students who are looking to build that kind of supportive housing for individuals.
Now, I've been down there before. The facility is outstanding. You guys have computers available. There's a workout room, single occupancy residency, so everybody kind of gets their own privacy. Some of these places even have their own bathrooms too inside, so it's a real great benefit to those who need kind of a hand up, not a handout, a hand up. One thing that really stuck out to me was the atmosphere there, and you can once you walk through, you can see a sense of family. You guys even do like meals there. There's a chef?
We have a part-time chef, a Lynn Tech graduate, and she's worked out in the field in the restaurant business. And we provide a dinner, home-cooked, family-style, Monday through Thursday night. And it's a really important touch point for residents. You know, if you're a single person living alone, there's a tendency to isolate and, you know, probably not interact with your peers or anyone. So this mealtime is a nice opportunity, very informal, as well as very nutritious opportunity.
So what kind of meals are they preparing there?
It's a full dinner. Last night we had white chili, cornbread, avocado salad, and pineapple cake for dessert.
What? That's delicious sounding.
We have Taco Tuesday. We have just a variety of, and oftentimes tenants will say, oh, could you make shepherd's pie? Could you make fried chicken? So we try to work that into the menu. We also have a farm share that's donated by the Farm Direct Co-op in Marblehead. So in season, organic, local, fresh produce, which is a huge benefit not only to, you know, individual health, but to our budget.
Right, yeah,
Big
absolutely.
Help, big help.
What I'm hearing right now, and I'm seeing a pattern too, is these collaborations are a huge part to your success. And especially in achieving a goal, I mean, especially when it comes to a city like Lynn, you know, one of the biggest inner cities in America. This is a subject that is very real to us, and people like you are working together to really kind of stem this thing, stem homelessness. Advocation is a huge part of what you guys do. So it just goes to prove the proof's in the pudding. You have all these collaborations in working order already. So in the 9 years you've been there, your advocacy has grown each year substantially. It's a big part of the job. How do you go about that, advocating for homelessness?
Well,
or against it, rather.
You reach out to the different partners who are dealing with it. So the Lynn Shelter Association, the Mass Coalition for the Homeless, most of the organizations in Lynn are all seeing housing insecurity and homelessness touch their clients in different ways. And having, you know, lived and worked in the Lynn community for almost 30 years, my children went to the Ford School during Dr. Crane's principalship, and she was all about collaboration, and I learned a lot from her working with her as a parent outreach coordinator, you know, how to address and ask and collaborate on ways that we traditionally think of as, you know, this is my job and this is your job.
Right, right. More like sharing the responsibility. You've been there 9 years. You've done a substantial amount of work. What do you get from this?
What do I get from it personally?
Other than a job?
Other than a job, it's way more than a job. Fortunately, I have had the opportunity in my life to look at situations from a variety of point of view. I myself, born and raised in the area, I left for a while, came back, had lived overseas, so you get to see how things interact and how really simple it can be to help someone. And oftentimes it's a hand out, it's a hand extended, it's a conversation. So for me to know that at the end of the day, I've helped someone get their food stamps reinstated, get a scholarship to start going back to school, find a decent place to live where they can close the door at night, get a good night's sleep and a hot shower, helps me sleep very peacefully at night.
Yeah. And it's not an easy gig. I mean, it's daunting work, and there are a lot of different types of conversations that you have to have every single day. And a lot of the times, you're just a listening ear. You may have advice that somebody's not ready to hear just yet. And you making that decision, I mean, that's just as important as it is to give that advice. Homelessness is a big issue in Lynn, considering that we just rid Lynn of all veteran homelessness. is homelessness on the agenda too? I mean, is that something we're trying to get rid of
Homelessness
entirely?
is probably the number one, umbrella of what we're trying to do, because homelessness and housing insecurity is so huge in our country today, not just Lynn, but everywhere you go. I think there was an article in this morning's paper about, the dirty little secret in the suburbs, how people are struggling. People are struggling with food costs, with energy costs, with all of that, So I feel that when we talk about homelessness and housing insecurity, there's something each of us can do, and I think the number one thing we can do is to rid ourselves of the perception that the homeless person is a drug addict or a bum or doesn't care. There are people living in shelters right now who are referred to us who are working full time, can't find an apartment that they can afford. So we're filling that gap as well.
Yeah, it's a big part of it too. Having some sense of awareness as to who it is on these streets. I mean, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but when you work in a nonprofit, there's a good chance that you're a paycheck away from being homeless as well. Here at LCTV, we're a nonprofit organization. You guys are a nonprofit organization, so it's a very real thing for everybody. So today, this past weekend, I went down to the Lynn March for Homelessness. A girl, Caitlin Duggan, had organized it with her friend Raven Pollock. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Raven. They did a really good job. They had a march, they had key speakers, and the big thing that they were kind of talking about was sympathizing with people who are homeless. Folks who are on the street, they're not asking for your sympathy. They're not asking for any type of they just need nickels. They need dimes. That's what they want. They don't want to be looked down on. How are folks like you addressing this issue in making the general public more empathetic to the homeless?
Well, I think it is very important what you said is being paycheck away, but I don't think it's limited to the nonprofit sector. I think that so many people, we know housing studies that have been done across the nation, a 2-paycheck family making minimum wage can't afford an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, pretty much anywhere in this country, and that's a pretty outrageous factor when you consider, what makes people homeless, what are the issues that are confronting them. So you can take the socioeconomic problem over here, but you've still got flatter wages, higher living costs. So we're really at a pivotal time, I think, in the country to look at those issues and to realize that I think like the opioid crisis 20 years ago, oh my God, heroin and drugs, now it's everywhere and people
Right.
are very aware of it, and we know that it is not some evil person who's the drug addict. Sometimes it's our younger sister or our cousin,
Right.
and they fall prey for whatever reason, but it doesn't make them a terrible person. It makes them an addict, or it makes them homeless, and that's a label I think we have to kind of smooth out a little bit.
Yeah, I'd agree. So over at the Washington Square Residence, establishing a sense of family, a big part of what you guys do over there. Anything else that you do to create a sense of community?
Well, we love to have parties.
Okay.
And I don't know if some of the pictures that you've got, we celebrate the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, any reason for a party. We will, put something together with the tenants, and oftentimes one of the things that I think is unique about the residents is that we have the tenants interact with the planning, with the execution of an event. We have a clothing boutique, for example, which we accept donations of clothing and housewares, and that also helps our residents. And the tenants manage that. They clean it, they sort it, they look at the stuff, this is gonna stay, this is gonna go. So, it really creates a sense of community.
Without a doubt. So I'd say it's safe to assume that a lot of folks in Lynn who are advocates just like you are big proponents to what you're doing, what you've achieved. Is there anything that we can expect in the future? Any continuous improvements that are on the agenda?
Well, I think that we're going to see more types of this type of housing, supportive services. Again, what's happening in a community should be reflected in the programming that we're able to do, but that costs money. So there's, we engage in fundraising, again, working collaboratively with other agencies to try to defray some of the costs of what we're trying to do.
Okay. So I'd like to end it with this. We had talked a little bit about, what do you get out of this at the end of the day? You expect to be doing this for the rest of your life.
I'd like to retire at some point.
At some point, right. So is there any reason why you ended up in this sector?
I've always had the desire to, help my community. I did not grow up in Lynn, but my family was here my grandmother came over from Europe, and I love the Lynn community. I love the city of Lynn. I think we have so many great assets here. And yes, I hope to continue till my retirement with the Lynn home, the Washington Square residents, and the city of Lynn.
Well, I think the proof's in the pudding. In the past 9 years, you've made that place an outstanding home to many people. And now it's becoming more of a family. So kudos to you, kudos to Yolanda and everybody else who's helping out, all those other people who are helping in collaborations. Just want to thank my guest, Lisa Conley, Director of the Washington Square Residents, right here in the city of Lynn. You want to find more information, you can jump online and visit www.washingtonsquareresidents.org. You can also reach out on the phone, 781-592-2037. We're here talking about homelessness here in the city of Lynn and helping Lisa Conley, Director of the Washington Square Residents. That's it for the Lynn Community Television show. From the studio here at Lynn Community TV, I'm Sean Donahue, wishing you all the best.